Hello, my name is Matt Bird, and welcome to the PublishU Podcast, where we explore the real life stories of authors from around the world. Today, I'm delighted to be talking with Martin Lee and his daughter Orla, who has written his third book in the series called Pegswood the Peculiar Pig. So I'm going to jump straight in here, Orla, and I want to ask you, what makes Pegswood peculiar?
He, I don't think he's peculiar. Well, you can say I'm peculiar. If he's peculiar, then I'm peculiar. But so basically, he's got autism, and he's a little bit different to all the other animals on the farm. So peculiar.
Ah. Oh, so do you mean your dad has made an animal that's like you and like me, actually? Do you think that's what he's done?
Yeah, but I wouldn't like to call myself a big fat pig that rolls in mud. Although dwarf mini pigs, they are quite cute.
Yeah, so you'd like to be a dwarf mini pig, would you? But not a
Yes.
normal pig. Oh, that's great. Well, Martin, you're very welcome, and Orla, you're especially welcome today on our podcast conversation. It's really exciting, Martin, to see your third book in this Collingswood Farm series now available worldwide. And this book is again a little bit different than the others. And just tell us a little bit from your perspective about what you've tried to do in this book.
Um, so in this book, I think it all revolves around the character of Pegswood. And Pegswood's a pig on Collingwood Farm, and it's the autumn book. And this book is very focused on Pegswood and how he's a little bit different to some of his friends, how he struggles with some of the things going on the farm, how he struggles with some of the noise. And it is based on someone who may have issues with neurodiversity and sometimes get sensory overload if things are too busy or noisy. And sometimes when everything gets too much, they lash out at their parents and they shout and they argue with their parents, but they don't mean it. And it's just about how he struggles to find his place really on the farm when he doesn't feel quite the same as some of his friends.
Mm. And it's interesting, you've called him peculiar, but
Hmm.
immediately Orla said, I'm not peculiar. This is normal for me. And I think that's one of the things I think you're trying to say through this book. Actually, we're all different in different ways. You know, as
Yeah,
you know, Martin, I'm dyslexic and ADHD, and the NHS in the UK says that 15% of the population are neurodivergent, 10% dyslexic, and another 5% other neurodivergencies. And we're not peculiar; we're just different.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's on a spectrum, and there's no, it's not black or white really. You're not autistic or you're not ADHD. You haven't got dyslexia. I mean, everyone's somewhere on the spectrum, and those people who are perhaps further along the spectrum than others, I don't want them to feel overly different. Yes, they may experience things differently, but it's about just I'm just trying to make. I've written this book to make people feel that that they're themselves. It doesn't matter what they're like, they're themselves, and it's important that they remember that they're perfect just how they are really.
Mm,
That's kind of the base message of the story.
beautiful. So, Orla, I'm going to ask you another question if I can, if I may. When do you feel most comfortable in the world and in life? What makes you feel just normal and good?
I really enjoy kayaking with my dad, and we live quite close to the sea, and I really like going down to the sea and kayaking. I feel quite safe there. and also there's a specific book sort of shop in Alnwick, and it's called Barter Books, and I feel quite calm there and safe.
She loves reading.
Yeah.
And is it one of those bookshops that's quiet, or is it a noisy bookshop?
What would you say, Dad?
Well, it's a bookshop, and so they're fairly quiet, which is good, but it's a busy bookshop. It's a big secondhand bookshop, so it's one of the biggest secondhand bookshops in Europe. So although it's still a bookshop, it's quiet. It's busy, it's big around, but it's not as busy as you might find a big supermarket or something like that.
But they have a train that goes round, and every so often it just goes toot toot.
Yeah. They've got a train that goes around, a model train that goes around all their bookshelves. So yeah, so no, it's a lovely bookshop actually.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing. Sounds really great. And Orla, are there times in life where you do feel a bit different and a bit left out?
Loads of times, yeah. At school, I feel a bit different because, well, I remember we did a song, I forgot the name, in music, and the teacher put it on to, I don't know how loud, but I just got quite overwhelmed. I just felt quite uncomfortable. Well, the rest of my class were just fine.
That's interesting. Yeah. I remember when I was at school, and that was a few more years ago, but I remember my teacher doing dictation, and they'd read out from a book. And the idea was that you were meant to write it down as they read it out. And I couldn't even get the first sentence. And every now and again, I'd like think, okay, I'm going to restart. The next sentence they start, I'm going to try and write it down. And I never even got one sentence. And there were other people in the class, and they got a whole page they'd written down from what the teacher read out. And times like that, I felt a bit left out of school and a bit like on the edge.
I completely understand, yeah. So I'm a good listener, well, I think, but I couldn't go and just recite everything you just said on a piece of paper. I couldn't do that.
No.
No,
And
no,
I
it's
mean,
tough.
one of the things I don't like lots of loud noise, and one of the things that you really struggle with is there's lots of things going on and lots of loud noises, and lots of people with autism and other conditions call it a sensory overload, and that's one of the things we talk about in the book, isn't it, Pegswood? He gets this issue where essentially the farm is too busy, it's too noisy, and he experiences a sensory overload, which is what Aura can sometimes get at school, and I can get sometimes.
Exactly.
One of my best friends, Orla, are a pair of noise cancelling headphones. And if I'm traveling particularly, I pop them on, and I don't even need to play music. I just put them on noise cancel, and it just helps block out some of the overload around me.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a pair of headphones, but they're not noise cancelling, but
They just dampen down.
yeah, they do dampen down. And at school, we've got these ear defenders, and it's just for when everything's getting too noisy. So I quite a lot pop them on.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I like that. It's really important, isn't it, to have these little things that you can do to help you when you feel like things are too much. And I think it's really important for people who don't have these differences to understand that's what's happening actually. We're not being antisocial. We love people, but sometimes it's just too noisy, too much, too busy.
Yeah, exactly. And I really like talking to people and having conversations. But like when it gets over, don't know, 10 people all talking to me,
Yeah.
that gets a lot.
If too many people are talking at once, it's too
So
much,
if there's lots of different noises around me, yeah.
Yeah. So, Martin, you've done something really clever with this book because actually you've written it for children, but like all good children's books, there needs to be a little appeal to the people that are reading them to the children. And I think you've done this with all your books in different ways, but this one in particular, because what you're writing about actually is a really important educational issue and a life issue. And you've written it for children, but as parents read it, as adults read it, to children, actually there's some enlightenment that's going on. And I think I know we've talked about this before. I just think that's really beautiful and powerful.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think I mentioned you before, I think in all the books I've written so far, I've tried to address the age range of who they're being read to. So some of the pictures, for example, younger children and the story for children themselves, but also I've tried to include things that the adults will like, because they're also reading the story. Well, they might be reading to the story to the child as well, and they've got to enjoy it too. So I've included things that adults perhaps will see in themselves or in their children, and also some a little bit of wordplay as well, which adults will understand as well. So I've tried to cover a wide range of ages again.
Fantastic. So as I said at the beginning, this is the third book in the series that we're celebrating, and there's a fourth one on the horizon this year, which is really exciting. So now we're three books in, Martin. Could you say a little bit more about how they fit together? They're all based on Collingwood Farm,
Yeah.
and I think there's some link between the seasons. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so there's four books. The first one, Lamb, the Last Lamb, is set in the spring. The second one, Embleton, the Curious Cat, is set in the summer. The third one, Pegswood the Peculiar Pig, is set in the autumn. And the fourth one, Featherston the Grumpy Duck, is set in the winter. So obviously they're seasonal. There's links between them all in terms of the pictures. There's a lot of the similar characters in all four stories, and they're all set on Collingwood Farm, which is obviously a farm in the northeast of England. All the characters have got names of local villages in the area, and they're all slightly different stories, actually. Lamley is, again, there's a bit of wordplay there. It's about Lamley and his struggles on the farm when he wakes up and can't find his mum. Embleton's more of a traditional story, if you like, but you do need to have a look at the pictures when you read it. Pegswood's a bit different. I think it's more about, as I mentioned before, it's about Pegswood the character, and there's a bit more wordplay. And then Featherston's probably the next one come up is different again. There's even more wordplay on it, and it's it has lots of wordplay in it, and there's idioms in it. And children don't have to understand what idioms are or phrases are, but it's about a duck who doesn't understand or use idioms, whereas all the other animals do. So he's a very literal duck. So he when someone says an idiom to him, he takes it very literally. So again, that's something which I hope that adults and children will both enjoy.
Amazing. Well, I'm certainly enjoying reading the series. I'm actually not reading them to any children, but I think this Christmas I'll be buying a few sets for children that are in my world, because I know they're absolutely going to love them. So, guys, if you haven't got this book yet, go out there and get it. I want to say a big thank you to you, Martin, and a special thank you to you, Ola, for joining us today. And thank you all for listening to the PublishU podcast, featuring the genuinely real life stories of authors from around the world. And if you're interested in becoming an author like Martin, please do visit our website, PublishU.com. And if you enjoyed this broadcast, make sure you subscribe for more. Thank you all for joining us, and goodbye for now.